Hi everyone, I'm Jennifer and I have my buddy here, Kristina Werner. And we're together this weekend, so we decided to come together and answer some questions that some folks have asked. So we both put on our Facebook page to give us your questions, and we picked some to answer. Now, over on her blog, she has a video answering 6 questions, and here I have a video with 6 other questions. So be sure to check the link that I have here in the corner or in the description below to check out her video, because there's some good questions on that one too. Yeah, so we're just going to dive in. We'll both answer all of the questions.
Okay, so here's one. Everything you make looks perfect. Do you have many cards or videos that don't make the cut? If you do, what do you do with them? I just toss them. I have a lot of pre-made cards. I generally don't do a practice card before I start filming. So the only time I get a practice card is when I mess up and then I have to refilm and throw that other card out.
I don't throw anything away. And I've talked about this in videos before, I just find a way to keep it and resurrect it, because I figure the whole point in me making a card is to make somebody happy. And I think somebody will like that card, so I may be picky, but they'll like it. So I usually go with it. I never practice a card. So when I'm filming a video, you're seeing the whole process. So sometimes it might seem like a card's jumping around, or you'll see me change gears. That's because it's natural. That's how it kind of came together. So I don't pitch anything except for and I don't practice anything except if it's for a class. If it's a class and it's really important that I deliver a really good technique, sometimes I'll try the technique out a few times to make sure that I can do it easily so that it would work for a class. So sometimes I do for classes.
I do that too for classes sometimes, but most of the time for classes I have things really pre-planned.
Yeah.
So I know what I'm going to do before I start filming.
Yeah.
So
good. Okay, this next question is from Donna. It says, what do you do with things that aren't trending any longer? Certain ribbons, accessories, or even stamps. How do you decide when it's time to part with some, and what do you do with them? I'm a purger. I used to have a very big craft room, and I went down to half the size, and it was the best thing I've ever done for my creativity, because I think when you have too much, it's overwhelming and it bogs you down. So I am a purger, and I do it quite often. I will donate.
How often? Like once a month or a couple months or what?
Oh, once a month at least. I'll just open my stamp drawer and I'm like, I gotta purge. So I just kind of go through phases. I don't do it all at once. I send things every once in a while. Like I'll email Sandy at Operation Right Home and say, I've got a bunch of envelopes. Who sends a lot of cards in? Or I give away stuff on my blog a lot, or on my Instagram channel, or on Facebook. And then sometimes I'll put a box of a ton of stuff, hundreds of dollars of stuff in a box, and I'll sell it for $40 on Twitter or something and give the money to Operation Right Home. So I make sure that it all gets in somebody's good hands. But I think it's so important to get rid of the stuff you're not using. And how I decide is if I have not used it and I don't have some great inspiring idea for the product, it's gone. I'm pretty ruthless, except buttons. I hoard buttons, and I don't use them on cards anymore, but they're just so pretty. So they stay right there in a really good drawer in my office, because I'm not getting rid of them.
A dedicated button drawer.
Yes.
Well, if you follow me over on my channel, you guys know that I moved about a year ago, and I got rid of a ton of stuff. I think it was like, at one point, I think I had 47 flat rate boxes. And I just sent them all out. I mean, I think people only had to pay for shipping. That was it. I need to do that again, because even when I moved, there was still stuff that didn't make it into those boxes. So I could really do that again, and I probably would fill about 20 boxes. Most of the time, if I have stuff that I need to give away, I'll do a giveaway on my blog, or like used stamps or papers. Sometimes I'll put in packets and take it to a local school or a daycare center where they just need a lot of supplies, and kids can be rough with it because, it's not expensive for them because it was donated. So I do that quite a bit too.
We both make sure it gets into good hands and for good cause. So.
Okay, another question. Do you have any insider's advice for diehard crafters on a very strict budget?
Watch our blogs for when we sell boxes of stuff.
Exactly.
Because they're great deals.
This is a hard question for us because what we do is a business, somewhat. I mean, it's fun and we love to do it, but it's also business. So we buy a lot of stuff and it's a business expense for us. So we're not as budget-minded, I guess you would say. I don't know.
there are tools. So, and it's part of our job. Like when I was just crafting for fun, I was on a little table in the corner of the basement without much. So, I can think about then with the budget. Whenever I still to this day, I do this. If I see a stamp set I like online, I need to think of 5 different ways to use it. And if I can't think of 5 different ways, I don't get it.
It's a good practice.
So you just got to make sure, just because it looks interesting, you got to know how to, you got to have some ideas on how to use it.
And I have a group of friends, like these are friends from high school. So I've known them for like, oh my word, am I going to say it? 20 years almost? I feel so old.
You're not even 20 yet.
15 years. Okay, whatever. Okay, 15 years. I've known for 15 years. And we get together maybe once a quarter and we call it a scrapbook overnighter. And we stay at someone's house and we're in their basement and we stay overnight and just craft or whatever. That's a really good time for everyone to kind of bring their supplies and everyone kind of shares and you get to try out new things. So you're not going out and spending more money, you're just borrowing some other things from someone else, because things like stamps they can be used over and over. You wouldn't borrow someone's paper. I mean, they're not going to get it back, but you could borrow stamps or dies or things that aren't consumable. Yeah. So see if you have some like-minded crafting friends in your local area and share. Like, I mean, you could borrow and take it to your house for a few days or have a party at someone's house, get away from the family and the kids and have some crafting time. So
good idea.
Okay.
We do that too.
We do. Okay. Vanessa asks, how do you keep a successful blog or personal page that generates traffic? Be consistent and do what you do.
I feel very strongly that the way to, if you want to be like have a successful blog as in working in the industry or whatever, you do your thing. You do your thing and you just go about doing your thing, doing the best work you can. And if it's meant to happen, it'll happen. It's all about working hard and making sure you kind of follow your own path.
And be involved. Like if you get involved in challenge blogs or galleries and things like that, like if people start seeing your work consistently, they'll make that transition over to your blog and then they might start following your blog.
That's true. Challenge blogs, I'm a big fan of. Do you want me to do this one? Sure. Want me to read this one? Okay. I know this probably has been asked before, but when it comes to putting colors together, I'm not much good at it. I have tried using the color wheel for help, but I don't quite understand it. Any suggestions on how to get the most of its use? I don't use it.
I don't use color wheel either. If I'm looking for color inspiration, and I think some people have replied on Facebook with this too, I go to Pinterest, search color swatches or color group or color combination, and you'll get a ton of stuff with great combinations. I also, when I'm out shopping or I'm like at Target or a department store, take pictures of clothing because there's great color combinations there and they're already made for you. You don't have to think about it.
I have 2 places that I like, specific places that I like to look for color. One is Garnet Hill catalog. Well, there's 2 catalogs, Garnet Hill and Boden, Boden. They have a kids, a mini, and a women's. And they just have great color combinations in their clothes. They're bright and cheerful, which is what I like. Those 2 particular catalogs, or their websites. And the other is pattern papers. I have 6x6 pattern paper pads, and I use those suckers mostly for color inspiration. Like I'll look at the stripe in a set, and I've got color combos. Or if I go back to a lot of the colors over and over because I feel uncomfortable also picking out colors. So if I find one I like, I'll use it a lot. I mean, I'm always using pool and peach and gray, but it works for me. So if it's one less challenge in getting my card done, then I'm all for it. So. But she's good at color, so go to her blog.
Right. Okay. Okay. Tim Holtz Distress Ink Pads, regular size versus minis. What are the pros and cons of each? I'm trying to decide if I should complete my collection of the full size. I have about 6. Or if I should stop buying the full size and just purchase the minis and re-inkers. You're a good answer for this.
Okay. Whatever you do, I think you need to have the distress inks. So if it means getting the minis so that you can afford to get them, go for it. Because I think it's one of the best products you can get in crafting
So versatile.
is the distress ink. Not for stamping in particular, but for unique techniques and backgrounds. You can watercolor with it. You can do a ton of things. So and the minis are great. Now, if you have all the full ink pads, there's no reason to go get the minis unless you're like me and you think they're cute. But if you're just starting out, or if you only have a few so far, get the minis and get the re-inkers, because there's a lot of techniques where you can use the re-inkers too. So you can save some money by getting the minis, and then you can invest in the re-inkers too.
I would agree with that.
And they're just cute.
Yeah, and there's the new tins that you can put them in. And
I highly recommend. And don't let the name Distress Ink
I
throw
was
you off.
scared of it for years.
There's really not much distress about it unless you decide you want to do that, which Tim, of course, is great at showcasing. But as he says, I like to kind of take his distress inks and make them very Skittle-like and very bright and cheery. But it just shows you that you can get a lot out of them. So it's a great product. So I would say get the minis and the re-inkers, and you're good to go.
If it gets you to that full set of colors that you can choose from faster to get the minis, go for that.
And I will say, as far as re-inkers, because I get a lot of emails of people saying, why don't certain lines have re-inkers? I don't buy re-inkers for any inks except for the distress inks. I have the re-inkers for the distress inks, but the others, like Versamark, I'd rather just get a new pad, a new fresh pad, than re-ink it. So,
and there's not much of a price difference between the re-inker and getting a whole new pad. And specifically with the Versamark pad, mine is so gross and dirty.
Yeah.
Like the one I have now has black dots all over it.
And they last forever.
They do. They last forever. So, yeah, just get a new pad.
But distress inks, I find that I want to re-ink them more. So that is one case in which I get the re-inkers.
For sure. So those are all the questions for Jennifer's blog.
Yay.
Anything else you want to say?
I don't know. And people, I've had emails asking why we're together. Like, well, we're friends too, so we get together and do fun things. And also, she paints my nails.
I do.
She does.
I
That's
do.
not the reason we're good. No, we're together in Utah. I came to her neck of the woods to do some online card class playing. So, but we see each other quite often. So anyways, thank you so much for stopping by, and be sure to click over to Kristina's video so you can see the questions. There were some great questions on her video too, so be sure to check that out. And if you have any other questions that you'd like to see answered in the future, you can head over to her blogs and we'll try to do this again sometime. Maybe we can Skype together.
Oh, that'd be fun. Cool.
So, thanks for stopping by.